Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. You know, over the years on my YouTube channel and on Facebook and on Instagram, I have boasted about camping off-grid 80-90% of the time, and I use free sites the majority of the time when I go camping. But I've never really kept track to see if that is correct or not. So I'm doing an audit on my trips this past summer. This is now into October, and you can see that the leaves are all changing. It's a beautiful day here, and it has been a beautiful week here in the Adirondacks. I can't believe the weather we're having. It's making up for all the rain that we had over the summer. But anyways, I kept track of the numbers over the summer, how many times I was out, how many times I'm on free sites, how many times I'm off grid or dry camping or boondocking, whatever you want to call it. And I'm ready to call myself out. Was I correct in making those statements? Well, let's look at the numbers. Follow along. So this is my site up here at Horseshoe. It's October, it's towards the end of the season. Tomorrow will be my last video of the year. That will be over in DeBar. But yeah, it has been great weather up here. So great that I probably took my last dip of the year today. I went dipping into Horseshoe, and the water isn't all that bad for this time of year, but it's been such a great week and a half of weather. But anyways, let's get into the numbers and see if I am accurate on what I say when I'm going camping. All right, so I've been keeping track this summer on all my trips. I've kept track on where I've stayed, whether or not there was hookups or no hookups, how much I spent on camping, staying at campgrounds, and how much gas I used. And you're going to be amazed at some of these figures. But really, in 2023, I took 17 trips. And those 17 trips were from really April, mid-April to about mid-October. This will probably be the last trip of the year. You never know. Last year, I managed to get out in November. So it might be over. It might not be. But anyways, out of those 17 trips, I was camping a total of 54 days. Out of those 54 days, I stayed at campgrounds that had a cost 28 days, or 52% of the time. The other 26 days were on free camping sites, or 48% of the time. The numbers don't lie. It was pretty even, but I actually stay at a campground that you pay for 52% of the time, and free camping 48% of the time. And the numbers don't lie on that one. So I was not accurate by saying that I stay at free camping sites the majority of the time. I really don't. Just missed it by a hair, 52% to 48%. But how about off-grid camping? Of the 54 days that I was out, I stayed at, I boondocked or dry camped 89% of the time. That was 48 out of 54 days. No hookups, just my solar, and everything has ran great with the solar. The other 11%, or the 6 days, I stayed at campgrounds with hookups. And as far as cost, let's look at the cost. 26 days, or 48% of the time, I stayed on free campsites that cost $0. 25 days, or 46% of the time, I stayed at state parks that cost $507 throughout the summer. And 6%, or 3 days, I stayed at a private campground, and that had a total cost of $234. Now, that private campground I stayed at was Yogi Bear Campground. Each year we have our family from around the state. We pick a campground, we go there, we meet there. Family has campers or tents or if they want to rent a cabin. So we always pick a campground that has the cabin option available. And that's why that campground was $234 for 3 nights, and that's why I stayed there. If I wasn't meeting family, I wouldn't have been there. But but it's well worth it to me because it's such a great time. We all get together, we have a fun time together, and even though it rained a majority of the time this time around when we got together, it was still a great time. So my camping cost total was $741. That is the total that I spent for 54 days, or an average of $13.72. Now that was for the cost of camping. If you want to eliminate the free camping sites and just the sites that I paid for, the average cost was $26.46 over those 28 days that I paid for a site. And but the most expensive part of camping is not paying for a site, it is getting there, the fuel. The most expensive part of camping is fuel. And let me tell you, over those 17 trips, I traveled 2,317 miles, or 136 miles per trip. The fuel cost for that was $1,078, or $63.14 a trip. And if you do the math, the miles per gallon comes out to about 11 miles per gallon with the old girl. Now, anyone that has a Toyota, I'm going to say this, anyone that has a Toyota car, they're loving their mileage because they get great miles. Anyone that has a Toyota truck, a Tacoma or a Tundra, knows what I'm talking about when I say it gets piss poor mileage. But there's a great trade-off on this. This is a 2014 Tundra. I bought in 2015. It had 17,000 miles on it when I bought it. It now has 144,000 miles on it. And the only repairs I've done to it was an air conditioner repair, and there was a coolant leak. One of the fittings that go into the motor was leaking. Those are the only 2 repairs I've done to this truck in the time I've had it. It is a fantastic truck, and I would not hesitate right now to back this truck up to my camper over here and go cross country. Wouldn't hesitate at all. I have no plans of giving this truck up. Now let me just explain the miles per gallon a little bit on this. Normally, without any trailer, I get about 15.8 miles per gallon, which is not a lot. But this has the big engine in it. So that's, and big engine for towing. And my towing is all over the board. My lowest towing I've had was going into the Moose River Plains. It's a dirt road, it's a rough dirt road. The max speed you can go is about 15 miles an hour. And I was getting 5.8 miles per gallon. And when you go 14 miles in and then 14 miles out, 28 miles at 5.8 miles per gallon, it eats up the mileage. Now, a lot of the roads here in the Adirondacks swerve back and forth and up over hills. And I get about 10 miles a gallon on those. But if I can get onto a highway that I can hold my speed pretty good, this old girl will get about 12 miles per gallon, 12.5 miles per gallon, towing my camp. So the miles per gallon towing is all over the place. Just coming in here, the 6 miles coming in here to a Horseshoe, it's not very far, but the road is rough. And you can't really get over 25 miles an hour towing the camper. And so I was getting 7.1 miles per gallon there. But that is the mileage of this truck, and it's kind of a trade-off because you're spending more on fuel, but the breakdowns are much less. 8 years I've had this truck. This is 2023. I bought it in 2015. I've never had it leave me. And believe me, I've had a Ford, and I didn't like it because it kept breaking down. I had a Ram, and I didn't like it because it wouldn't start in the winter time. And I loved Chevys. Matter of fact, I was a big Chevy guy until my last Silverado I bought in 2006, and it was constantly in the garage, and that's no lie. After 2 years of owning that truck, I took it back to the place I bought it and said, I want to trade it, I'm done with this truck, and they would not take it back. And I said, well, if you don't want my business, I'll go elsewhere. And a buddy of mine in Potsdam owns a Toyota dealership. and he said, I'll put you in a Toyota. And I've always had, you know, these Toyotas back in the 1990s, you couldn't kill them. They would run, but they were like a wiffle ball going down the road because there were so many rusted holes in it. They would just rust right away, but they would run. Toyota's kind of cured that problem, and so far so good with this. 144,000 and really no rust on it. I have a great mechanic who inspects it every time he goes in for an oil change. He goes through it, so I can't ask for anything more. But anyways, $1,078 on fuel. That was the most expensive part of camping. And if you want to add everything up, all in all, for 54 days of camping, I paid $1,819 for an average of $33.69 a day. And that was with paying for a site and free sites. And that included fuel. The numbers show that I was kind of off when I said I stay at free camping majority of the time. 48% of the time I stay at free camping. But I was correct when I say I boondock 80 to 90% of the time, because the numbers show that I boondock 89% of the time. So I was pretty correct on that, making that statement. But, you know, nothing's cheap anymore, I guess. And if it's something you really love to do, you don't mind spending the money on it. But I am so thankful that I have a camper that, you know, I do maintain it. I do a lot of preventive maintenance on it, so maybe that's helped me keep the cost down on repairs on the camper. And I have a great mechanic with my Tundra, and I don't put it through the ringer. I mean, a lot of the roads I go through up here in the Adirondacks are rougher than hell, but I don't go through them at 60 miles an hour with this thing either. So I've been blessed, really, with the fact that I can do this. I'm standing upright. You know, I had a neck injury in '98, which was a very scary time because I wasn't sure which way this was going to go. When you have the numbness and the tingleness in your extremities, and you're going in for surgery, they're messing around with your spinal cord, it can get scary. But I've been blessed with a camper that works well. I've been blessed with a truck that works well. I've been blessed with a great kayak, blessed with the solar system, and blessed that I can get out here. But those are the numbers right there. These numbers kind of help me plan for my retirement too. But that was my camping audit on myself. How'd I do? Tell me down in the comments. Alright folks, you watched all the way through. Thanks for that. If you liked the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button down below. Continue to follow the adventure. And remember, folks, tomorrow is no guarantee for any one of us. So disconnect from that Wi-Fi, connect to this out here. You won't be disappointed.